Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Since we're still waiting on the LA Valiant roster to be revealed, let's move on to some other content about this 2021 season of the Overwatch League. Starting with a look at the 2021 season info and the format for the season. This was revealed back during BlizzCon Online last month. Did not talk about it then, but I'm going to talk about it now. Give you my thoughts on it and the things that I'm excited for, not excited for, anything like that. So let's jump in and let's talk about what's going on. So the schedule is out. If you want to see it, it is there, and you can find it in the description. I'll have a link to the article I'll be reading from, as well as the schedule, and any other information that I bring up will be talked about. But let's talk about some of the stuff we already knew would be happening. Of course, 20 teams split up into two regions, the East and the West. In the East, we have 8 teams: Chengdu Hunters, Guangzhou Charge, Hangzhou Spark, LA Valiant, New York Excelsior, Philadelphia Fusion, Shanghai Dragons, and Seoul Dynasty. The 12 remaining teams will be in the West, and they are the Atlanta Reign, Boston Uprising, Dallas Fuel, Florida Mayhem, Houston Outlaws, London Spitfire, LA Gladiators, Paris Eternal, San Francisco Shock, Vancouver Titans, Toronto Defiant, and Washington Justice. We knew about this already, so let's get into some of the stuff that was new and revealed during the show. The big one is the season tournaments are coming back from 2020. There will be 4 tournaments. There will be the May Melee, the June Joust, the Summer Showdown, and the Countdown Cup. 3 of those coming back from last season. One of them, of course, the June Joust, being a new one. As they write here, the 2021 season consists of 4 tournament cycles, with teams playing 4 matches each cycle to determine qualification and seeding for each of the tournaments: May Melee, June Joust, Summer Showdown, and Countdown Cup. Teams from both regions will compete in the 4 tournaments. In the West, the top 6 qualifying teams will first play a round of knockout matches, with 2 teams advancing to tournament weekend. In the East, the top 4 qualifiers will play down to 2 teams. The top 2 teams from the East and West will then play in a double elimination bracket to determine a tournament champion. So, basically, you'll have the top half on either side, so the top 4 in Asia and the top 6 in the West will narrow themselves down into 2, and then much like we had last season with the season playoffs, you'll have the top 2 teams from the West and the top 2 teams from the East compete against each other in a cross-region tournament. This is where the Western teams will travel to Hawaii and do all that fun stuff there, so I think it's a good format. I really like the way the format works. I think it is something really, really interesting to see. As I continue here, health, safety, and travel conditions permitting, the top 2 West teams will travel to Hawaii for tournaments, where they will play against the top 2 qualifying teams from the East via a directly routed connection from Hawaii to Asia. If necessary, we will pivot back to a regional online tournament model with separate champions, but they want to try to have it so every tournament you are competing against, you have 1 winner and not 2 winners in each region. So I do really like this format. I think the tournaments are a really good format. I think that the biggest issue that I saw with 2020 was that the regular season at the beginning was just going to be, you played 28 games, top 8 teams made the playoffs, and then that's when the games really started to kind of matter. Because I felt like in 2018 and 2019, the stages and the stage playoffs were really, really important. And so when those were then gone going into 2020, it felt much worse. So I think tournaments are the right way forward. I don't know if these are going to be a thing they consider doing when they move back to in-person. I hope that when there's live events again, we get live tournament play, because I think this is the best format possible. There's obviously some challenges doing homestand models for stuff like this, because how do you host a tournament when teams are all over the world? It can be a little more difficult, but there's ways to do it. You can do a region-based, right? So you do all the teams in one division host and then another division and so on. You can always make it work, so I'm interested to see how it happens if it does happen, and so that is something interesting. But I love this season format. I think the tournaments are the best thing that they can do. I think it makes the most exciting matches. And that, to me, is kind of what is really, really, really cool, is that the league gets better when matches are more meaningful throughout the season. And I think tournament play really, really does that. And that's one of the things I really like. Another thing that I love about this season, and this is something that I know I have thought about in the past. I don't know if I ever actually mentioned it in a video, but going into 2021, there will be a new scoring system for playoffs, and it is a point system. As they say here, this season we're shifting to a new scoring system for standings that awards league points for qualifier and tournament wins. Each team plays 16 qualifier matches throughout the season, and each win is worth 1 league point. Teams that qualify for and win at tournaments can acquire additional points as follows. First place gets 3 league points, second place gets 2 league points, and third place gets 1 league point. Within each tournament cycle, any wins during the 3 weeks of qualifiers will accrue league points to determine seeding and qualification for that specific tournament. So a team might not qualify for the May Melee tournament, but can qualify for the June Joust tournament if they perform well during the qualifier matches for that tournament cycle. Regular season match wins, not including tournament wins, is the top tiebreaker to determine ordering among teams with the same amount of league points. Additional tiebreakers will be included in the 2021 Overwatch League rules of competition. I really like this change. Obviously, regular season games still matter a lot because if you win them, you get a point. But it also means the tournament games win more than what they did last season. Last season, the San Francisco Shock won 2 of the 3 tournaments in North America and were not the top seed going into the playoffs because winning percentage-wise, the Philadelphia Fusion had a higher win percentage because they had 1 fewer loss. And so the percentage was better for the Fusion. That shouldn't be a problem this season because you now have points that go to your standing. Wins don't really matter, it's the points that matter. When you have a set number, and that set number is a thing that ticks up, and you don't have to worry about a fraction or anything like that, it makes it so much better. So I really like this system. We're going to see a lot more competition, I think, and I think those league points are going to be so important with how close I think the season's going to be. Even getting 1 league point is going to be a huge difference maker. Oh, I can't speak today. It's a huge difference maker because if you're a team like San Francisco of last season and Shanghai of last season are both really, really good, certain metas you might be better than the other meta, and so you might be going back and forth a little bit. But maybe there's an instance like what we saw with the Summer Showdown last season in North America where the meta lined up perfectly for the Paris Eternal. They win that Summer Showdown, and they all of a sudden now have themselves in a really good position in terms of wins and success that they found going forward. And so when you look at the way that this kind of happens, you're going to see a lot more competition, I think, at the higher levels. So any additional points you can get in tournaments are huge and really, really important. Now, I believe if I'm reading this correctly, that wins inside of the tournament itself don't mean anything, right? So the only wins that mean anything will be the wins that are needed for the actual 4-team double elimination bracket. Those qualifying games that lead to that 4-team bracket don't actually contribute to a team's ability to actually like make the tournament or to get in the postseason tournament. It's only those 4-team double elimination bracket wins, right? And you basically get points for the amount of games you win, right? You have to win 3 games to potentially more, but you have to win 3 games, right? You have to win your first game, then you have to win the winners finals and the grand finals, or you have to win one of the either, then you have to win something like you can win 3 in a row from the losers bracket. There's obviously ways you can do it, but you have to win 3 games to win one of those playoff or regular season tournaments. So it makes sense when you see how it's done. So I like this system a lot. I think this is a really good change to the way that the system worked last season. I think we won't see issues where teams who are doing really well, but because of weird things that are like percentages and whatnot, where teams who should probably be the higher seeded teams get kind of screwed over. So that is something that is changing. Moving on to the playoffs format. They say here, all league points acquired throughout the season will be used to determine qualification and seeding for the playoffs. At the end of the regular season, the top 3 teams from the West region and top 2 teams from the East region will directly qualify into the playoffs. A play-in tournament for each region will qualify an additional 3 teams, 2 from the West and 1 from the East, into the remaining spots in the 8-team double elimination playoff bracket. More information about the postseason format will be shared later. I'm a big fan of this format. I think this is a very, very, very nice format. I think it opens up. So, hey, if you do really well in the regular season, you're automatically in the playoffs. It's not like last season where every team had to fight for it. And then you get those nice qualifiers where everybody else can fight for those 2 additional spots in the West and that 1 additional spot in the East. But you don't have something like the Washington Justice where they could like really like cause, havoc and potentially eliminate one of the best teams from the regular season from making the playoffs. Those teams who did well in the regular season are guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. I like that better than what was done last season. Last season was weird. I understand why they did the way they did, but this is a format I really like. And technically, you still give every team a shot at the postseason at the end of the season. But it's not the same thing where every team has kind of like an equal shot. It's more so the best teams are already going to be there. You have to be able to prove yourself against the rest of the pack to get yourself that spot locked in. So I do like this a lot, and this is a good format. I'm excited to see who we get in the playoffs at the end of the season, but we don't have the full information there, so that is something we'll see later on, I guess. They also have a bit of information on the broadcast times and where to watch. So as I say here, new this season, we're evolving our broadcast times to better cater to our fans. All live broadcasts featuring teams playing in the West will start at 12 p.m. Pacific, and broadcasts featuring teams playing in the East will start at 5 p.m. China Standard Time, 6 p.m. Korea Standard Time. And they'll all be on the Overwatch League YouTube channel and the Overwatch League app and website. This is not too much of a big change. I guess it's somewhat of a big change. In the past, match start times have kind of changed. Sometimes it was like 4. I think usually it was at 4 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes it was a little earlier than that. Sometimes it was later than that. But now they're saying every single time it'll be at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. in the UK. So those are times that I know off the top of my head. And then I think that is a better starting time. I think that it makes it way easier to follow it live. And that is something that I very much enjoy and something I very much like. I know there was talk about the new system of kind of spoiler-free viewing that they're going to do for the league, so that matches happen in Asia, you can watch them the next day or whatever without worrying about spoilers, which was something that was a huge problem last season. You'd go to look at what happened in the playoffs, and I knew the Seoul Dynasty were in the grand finals before I even had the chance to watch the match, which was a little upsetting, a little annoying. So I hope we get to see more stuff like that. The big problem is social media. You have to keep that stuff off of social media as much as you can. You can't just tweet about it in the middle of the night. I understand why you want to, but I think you need to give fans some time to watch, or at least like provide a spoiler warning on the tweets and stuff. But hey, that's something else. The final thing is the not the final thing. The next thing is the prize pool for the season. There's a total of $4,250,000 up for grabs. For each of the tournaments, the first place team will get $100,000, second place will get $70,000, third place will get $35,000, and fourth place will get $20,000. So, you have I'm so bad at math. $125 up for grabs there. That's $1 million in just the prize pool for the tournaments alone. And then in the playoffs, the first place team gets $1.5 million. And then from there it goes down to 700,000, 350,000, 300,000, 200,000, 100,000, and then 50,000 for both 7th place and 8th place. So that's a pretty hefty prize pool there. Hero pools, this is where I think it gets very interesting. The hero pool system is a rotation of playable heroes intended to showcase more hero diversity and strategy in matches. If you recall, last season hero pools was present for pretty much the entire season. They made some changes to it. Went from being every week, they changed it to how it was selected. They went from it being different in-game in the Overwatch League to the same in-game in the Overwatch League to not being in-game at all, but still in the Overwatch League. Then they made it where it was only for 2 weeks, and then it was off for 2 weeks, and they made a bunch of changes to the hero pool system. But this is how they are doing it for this season. Hero pools will be used for 2 of the 4 tournament cycles, the June Joust and the Countdown Cup. That includes all of the qualifier and tournament matches for each of those cycles. And there will be no hero pool for the May Melee, Summer Showdown, or in the playoffs. So to give some diversity to all the tournaments, you have hero pools, which I think is interesting. It'll make the June Joust and Countdown Cup different from the other 2 tournaments, where it'll give more teams a possibility and an opportunity to perform well, including in the actual tournament matches themselves, which I think is a huge thing that is very, very good. But once again, it will not be in the playoffs, and it will not be in the first or third tournament of the season. So you think about it, there's really 5 tournaments all season. You have the May Melee, the June Joust, Summer Showdown, Countdown Cup, and then the playoffs. So it won't be in the first, third, or fifth, but it will be in the second and the fourth. As I say here, for the 2 cycles where hero pools are used, 4 heroes will be removed from play, 2 damage, 1 tank, and 1 support. Heroes are randomly selected from a group of eligible heroes based on play rate data from the previous tournament cycle of Overwatch League matches. Only heroes that are being played regularly, 10% or more, can be pulled out of hero pool rotation. No hero can be removed more than once during the season. I still have an issue with this 10% or more number. I think that you have to set different numbers for damage and tank and support. You have twice, you have as many damage heroes, actually more damage heroes than you have tanks and supports combined. When you keep the same percentage, the chances are so much lower that heroes are going to get pulled, because there's, heroes being played regularly, but what is regularly when you have so many heroes, where you could have a hero who's getting played pretty normally and it's at 9%. Right, and they're like the fourth or fifth most played DPS hero, but because of the way that there's so many DPS heroes, it just kind of skews the numbers. So I think that they should adjust that to be specific for different roles. I think damage heroes should be more likely to get pulled, or the threshold for them to get pulled should be lower than the rest, but I'll see what happens, and I'll wait and see until the first hero pool pull happens before I get kind of before I have any really strong opinions about that. The final thing on the docket are the map pools and the game patches, which are both pretty small. The map pools is just that each map pool will be played with 14 maps and the same 4 game modes: Control, Hybrid, Escort, and Assault. But not when Overwatch 2 comes out, baby. In each tournament cycle, all 5 control maps will be available, and then 3 hybrids, 3 escorts, and all 3 of the playable assault maps will be there as well. And then the game mode order will change for each tournament cycle and for the playoffs. So, the May Melee tournament cycle map pool will be all 5 control maps, so that is Lijiang Tower, Busan, Oasis, Nepal, and Ilios. For Hybrid, we get Kings Row, Blizzard World, and Eichenwalde, which is a very good trio there. Kings Row, one of the best maps in the game. Blizzard World and Eichenwalde, very good maps as well. Eichenwalde is actually one of my favorites to watch, so I'm actually really excited for that one to be there. For Escort, we have Dorado, Watchpoint, Gibraltar, and Havana. Havana, not as much of a fan of, but Dorado and Watchpoint, Gibraltar are pretty good. So that means for the Hybrid, we have No Numbani, Escort, No Route 66. I'm also forgetting some other maps because my mind is just not having a good day today, so those are missing. And then for Assault, we have Hanamura, Volskaya, and Temple of Anubis. During the 4 tournaments, the first map will be chosen by the higher seeded team, though it must be a control map. The loser of each subsequent map will select the next map within the confines of the predetermined game mode order for that tournament, and then they will announce the rest of the map pools during the season, and the playoffs will be played on a separate map pool. The final little thing is game patches, which they just say that in order to maintain a level playing field and competitive balance, Overwatch game patches will only be deployed for Overwatch League usage between tournament cycles during bye weeks. So that is how they are doing game patches, which makes sense. I'm upset that I can't remember the names off the top of my head of the other hybrid and other escort map, but I will just keep talking and give you some of my thoughts, and maybe while I'm talking, they will come to me. Overall, I really like this format. I think the format is very good. I think it's going to be the best season we've had yet. And I think that for a number of reasons. One, I think the teams themselves are the best we've ever seen them. I think this is the most competitive the league has been. There's very few teams where I'm like, this team's really, really bad. I think every team this season has a lot of potential, and I think every team, at least the ones that we know of right now, have a lot of really talented players on them, and I don't think there's anybody that it's like, this team looks really weak on paper. They don't seem to have like Overwatch League caliber players with them, and so I am a big fan of what this season is format-wise and roster-wise. There's really not many complaints I have. I think that this season is very, very good. I think what we have seen so far is very promising. I think when you look at the Rialto, that's one of the maps that's not being played. I had that one in my head too. Anyway, I digress. I think when you look at the way that the previous seasons were played, I think there was a lot of problems with different bits with the format. 40 weeks was way too many in the first season. I actually think 2019 was a very good season, but GOATs was a problem, I think, that kind of hurt the season. Then you had 2020, which was obviously impacted by COVID, but just the consistent, just constant plan of just regular season matches with no tournaments really, except for the mid-season tournament. Not a huge fan of that format, so I'm glad that we're seeing a change going into 2021. Only 16 matches for each team. Only playing in 2 out of the 3 weeks during each of the tournament cycles. I don't know if that was actually touched upon in this article or not, but if you look at the schedule, each team only plays in 2 out of the 3 weeks for the qualifying. So they might play the first and second, they might play the second and third, they might play the first and third. There's kind of different ways it kind of shakes up, but it is something that I think is really, really, really good and a huge change I really enjoy. So I think that overall, the format for the 2021 season looks really good, and I think that we can expect to see a lot of really cool and exciting matches because of the way the format is broken down for the season. And I think that it makes every game matter a lot more because there's only 16 matches in the regular season. And yes, you still have the tournament matches, so you're not going to be completely left out to dry, and you're going to have more chances to watch your team if your team is doing well and your team is succeeding. But overall, I'm really happy with the way the season looks. Cannot wait until the season kicks off on April 16th. We're getting so close, just over a month out from the start of the Overwatch League 2021 season. So let me know your thoughts on the format for this season in the comments down below. Sorry this video was a little rambly and all over the place. Just been a little busy recently and just wanted to make sure I got this out to you, and I don't know what is going on with me, but let me know your thoughts, like I said, in the comments down below. But that is all for me for today. If you want more videos like this in the future because you enjoyed this one, consider liking and subscribing for more content like this. Hope you are all staying safe and staying healthy. And yeah, I will see you all next time. Bye bye.